Hi, my name is Todd Belfer. I'm your host for The Laundry List, here with my co-hosts Blake and Charles. And we also have another special co-host with us today, Soraya. And welcome back, guys. How is everybody doing?
Todd, first, I got to say thank you to our listeners. I was really blown away to hear just about how many people were tuning into this. So to this soon, it's clearly a subject matter that resonates well. And there's a lot of us out there, Todd. So I'm very pleased to hear that this soon we already have this many people in it's listening. So listeners, thank you.
Yeah, so we won't keep you guys guessing. We have over 1,200 listeners. We were surprised ourselves. And what, am I not supposed to say that?
Well, I would have said 22,000, but that's okay.
200,000.
202,000.
I got to be honest.
Joe Rogan, here we go.
We'll edit that.
I got to be honest because today we're talking about the 7 deadly sins, and I don't want to be caught with my pants down on one of the 7 deadly sins here. So we're going to try to be honest. Also got news today that my wife's pregnant. So that's exciting. Find out if it's twins in a week. Next week we do an ultrasound. So we'll find out if we're having twins.
Congratulations, Todd.
Congratulations.
Yep.
Thank you very much. So yeah, life's good. And you know, we had some crashes this week, which is we talk a lot about on this. Charles had one this morning. Whew. My wife had one this morning. She made an amends to me. I knew she would within 20 minutes after it happened. Probably something to do with the hormones, and she can't work out. And so it's like, you know, we're all experiencing stuff. I'm experiencing stuff at work with my kids. I know Blake's going through some stuff, and Soraya, not to leave you out. You know, we're all going through stuff. So I thought we'd just do a little round robin today and talk about our own things and what's happening and what we've learned from listening to this podcast and doing the work, and how we don't have to be, everything doesn't have to be life-threatening and react as we did when we were kids. We can act as adults today and get through it through the tools we have and know that it'll pass. So before we get too deep into our round robin, Charles, you want to start us off with the laundry list?
Sure. For our listeners, this is a list of traits and characteristics that we developed as a result of a dysfunctional home early on. And then we carried these things into our relationships and events later on in life. And the first one is that 1, we became isolated and afraid of people and authority figures. 2, we became approval seekers and lost our identity in the process. 3, we are frightened by angry people and any personal criticism. 4, we either became alcoholics, married them, or both, or find another compulsive personality such as a workaholic to fulfill our sick abandonment needs. 5, we live life from the viewpoint of victims, and we are attracted by that weakness in our love and friendship relationships. 6, we have an overdeveloped sense of responsibility, and it is easier for us to be concerned with others rather than ourselves. And this enables us not to look too closely at our own faults. 7, we get guilt feelings when we stand up for ourselves instead of giving in to others. 8, we became addicted to excitement. 9, we confuse love and pity and tend to love people we can pity and or rescue. 10, we have stuffed our feelings from our traumatic childhoods and lost the ability to feel or express our feelings because it hurts so much. And that's also known as denial. 11, we judge ourselves harshly and have a very low sense of self-esteem. 12, we are dependent personalities who are terrified of abandonment, and we will do anything to hold on to a relationship in order to not experience that painful abandonment feeling. And we often receive this from living with sick people who were never there emotionally for us. 13, alcoholism is a family disease, and we became para-alcoholics or took on the characteristics of that disease, even though we never picked up a drink. And finally, everyone, 14, para-alcoholics are reactors rather than actors.
Good stuff, Charles. Good
Great
stuff,
Charles.
So yeah, before we get into talking about the 7 deadly sins and where this came from, I watched a movie this last weekend, and it was called The Devil's Advocate with Al Pacino, Keanu Reeves. And to me, it's a very spiritual movie because, and everyone's like, they ask, like, what's spirituality? Like, we hear that term used so loosely these days. What's spirituality? And to me, without even looking it up or even thinking about it, like, I just think spirituality for me is the awakening of my spirit and the growth of my spirit, my soul, my non-ego. And, to me, that's super important because my ego's growing whether I like it or not, because I live in a society where it's going to grow, period. And when I watch that Devil's Advocate, boy, Al Pacino does such a good job just bringing the 7 deadly sins out to a light where it looks attractive and it looks like something everybody wants and it feels good and it just feels powerful. And it's like having all of our senses just accentuated to the point where, like, we're into almost like an addiction in all of them: power, greed, lust, vanity, all of those. And I think they just do such a good job portraying it. And Keanu Reeves, really, he's conflicted because he likes the power, he likes the vanity, he likes the lust, he likes the money, but then he's conflicted because at the end of the day, he just wants to be a normal man that's doing good in the world. So, we'll get into that a little bit more and talk about the 7 deadly sins here after we kind of go through some of the pressing issues that we're all going through. And I guess we'll start with you, Charles, and kind of go around the table, kind of like we do when we get together. So Charles, do you want to just talk a little bit about what's going on with you and what you've learned the last few days in your life and how the false programming from childhood and those feelings that we're so used to and addicted to come back in ways that we don't even know?
Yeah, so I can personally attest that there's been some transformation that's taken place in my life, but some of them you don't know how uncomfortable you really are until that situation presents itself, or if I'm still demonstrating old behaviors, right? So one of the things that came up with me today, I was very uncomfortable. I was back in that same place I was 2 years ago. I'm back at your doorstep sitting with you laying back on the chair. Same place, right? To making the same drive, very uncomfortable. Right. And one of the things that is a huge flaw with me, and it has to do with, we're pinpointing things now these days as they tie to laundry list characteristic traits, which we then pin those on specific things that occurred early on in our childhood, which define the way that I respond to situations. And one of the things that was very uncomfortable to me today is this unbelievable ability to sit on things, right? And I would believe that it was out of fear why I wouldn't get into action on something, right? So there's an event that requires some action. And by the time that I had faced it, the action required to satisfy it was quite simple, right? I mean, once we sat down and did it, it took care of itself. I was able to take care of it on 2 phone calls and in less than 20 minutes. But this is something that's been going on now for almost a year, right? I'm losing sleep over it. Why is it that Charles waits for the pain to be so great, the anxiety level to be so great, and almost into a panic type situation where, to be honest with you, if I look back historically, this is how I handled most things, right? Where you get it to the end, and now is that being addicted to excitement? Because now is that, historically, I've done my best work at the last moment when there's panic, when there is that elevated heart rate, when there is...
You're in survival mode.
Yeah, in survival mode. It's like, so I've known that I will lay on the nail so long until it caused me so much pain before I get off of it. But is it more so than just procrastination? Is it more so than just fear? Because I don't procrastinate. I'm very busy at conquering and handling things that are about, is it more so that addicted to excitement, which Todd, you helped me see that today. There's a certain level of excitement in the chaos, right? It's excitement. And when I look at all the different types of excitement that I experience, it's the chaotic excitement where I seem to almost be comfortable, right? So then it falls back to the question of, I am really hardwired to make decisions, be inactive on or not act upon certain things to the point where it almost leads me to failure, right? Where I get to that point where it's now crunch time. People are pissed. I've exceeded, ruining relationships, causing pain, causing angst, laying on the sofa. What the fuck do I do? And it's crazy because I could have remedied this situation at any given day the exact same way at any moment over the past year.
Well, and the same thing could have been said for when you were at my house 2 years ago. And by the way, I felt the same energy of you coming to my house 2 years ago when you were breaking up with your hot Russian girlfriend and the situation today. I felt that same energy, which was anxiety, fear, like panic. I felt that same energy in you. And we talked about this morning, like we become addicted to that, whether we know it or not, whether we want to start gambling, whether we want to start like procrastinating and going into sloth and business. So we have a situation where it's a crisis. You know, like you said, you could have taken care of this over the past year at any time, but you just delayed it. And maybe it's subconsciously so you can create that feeling of anxiety and pain and panic because we're so used to it. And now we're living the life from more of a balanced lifestyle where we don't have these huge ups and downs. And we're like, well, maybe I need to create something. You know, I'm not doing it with my romantic relationships anymore. So maybe I need to do it here in my business. And maybe that's why you keep delaying it. And then this morning, some guy's yelling at you, threatening to call the police and freaking out because you kept delaying something that was handled, like you said, in 3 phone calls this morning.
So simple.
But it's that physical feeling to your body, like where you literally feel like you're going to die and you can't breathe. Your heart racing. You got the pit in your stomach. You're like your blood pressure and heart rate are off the charts. And it's a physical feeling that we had when we were kids. We had it when we were breaking up with girlfriends, and we had it today.
What's wild, Todd, is I've been in this exact situation so many times, and there's 2 outcomes. A lot of the time there's a remedy, right? There's a remedy to the situation. In some instances, we're past that expiration date of resolving the issue. And then the other outcome of that situation is, fuck it, I'm out, right? So that's either I've done that in my relationships. There's something that's bothering me. That's something that's ailing me. And it's something that I could have easily addressed, fixed, whether it be counseling or whether it just be a simple phone conversation or maybe taking care of something that I needed to do, up until the point where I'm in that panic. And it's crazy so I'm addicted to excitement. It's also amazing how I've almost like that's when it's actually time to do something, right? That's where I maneuver best. Right. And I look back at the clear actions and how I'm responsible for getting me where I was today. And the question is why, especially when it was so easy. And the answer is from a different point of view, after learning some things in here, I'm addicted to that level of excitement and I will make decisions that get me there.
And you haven't had it in a while. You haven't had it in a while. When you came to my house 2 years ago and you were breaking it off with this girl, you had a lot of false stop starts with her.
Tons.
And I remember, and it was like, you know, you got some peace and then boom, she's back in your life and it's chaotic and you're like freaking out, you know, turning bright red, panic, you know, the little kid's scared, right? And he's freaking out. And you had a lot of those false stop starts. And I think you've had a period of time where you've had some peace and quiet and balance in your life, to where you're not having these excitement and addicted to excitement and anxiety. And you know, at some level, we want that. The teenager in us wants that excitement, that wants that adrenaline. You know, I last night I'm yelling at the TV because I bet on the football game last night, and I'm yelling at the TV. I'm like, what am I doing? You know, I got $500 on this game. It's not going to change my life, but I'm screaming and yelling at the TV, and it's affecting the way I feel, and it's causing that same exact physical, you know, characteristic in me that you experienced this morning.
And I imagine you probably know every time you bet on a game, you're like that during that game, right? So it's like, you know how you're going to be behaving during that game. I know how I'm going to be behaving when I subconsciously or consciously make these decisions to say, I'll do it tomorrow. Pain's not great enough yet. Okay, now we're into the fucking fire alarm. Let's go.
I mean, you do it with gas.
Yeah, okay. The gas thing, I'll never live that down. Let me push that thing to the edge.
Yeah, that's right. You ran out of gas.
Yeah, I have.
I'm like, who lets their car run out of gas?
Yeah,
you know?
we'll get it later. Okay. Yeah, now I'm pushing this motherfucker.
Now we're getting a gas can and driving.
Yeah, but again, that causes the adrenaline, the excitement, the anxiety, the fear, the panic, like all those things that, I don't know about you guys, but when I was 13, I was jonesing on that shit. And when I was using in my 20s, I was like, yes, give me more of that. I love that shit, you know?
There's there's still so much work to be done. And it's why all of us that are successful and the people that I admire that have recovered from these types of things are still doing the work every single day.
Yeah.
And I know there's going to be another situation, especially as I'm getting closer and closer to being in a relationship, right? And we know that I haven't been one in a while. I can't wait to see all the shit where there still needs to be more work to be done. But I have been able to have different approaches, boundaries, and expectations than different before. So it's got action
and more action. Never let ourselves feel like we are inferior and in trouble in a relationship. That's the biggest thing. Because I remember when you came 2 years ago, you were in trouble. You were a bad boy. This chick is mad at you. She's yelling at you. She's sending you violent texts. She's screaming at you. And you were coming unglued out of your skin. And I'm like, Charles, who cares? Blow her off. But that's easier said because I'm unattached. When I'm in it, I feel the same way you do. And it's like, there's no option.
That's right.
I got to fix it. I got to make her calm down. I got to do whatever it takes. I got to give her whatever it takes. I got to make sure she's okay because then I'm okay.
And there was a cycle of that, and it just seemingly was never going to end. And that was a major turning point, because if we look at historically in that same situation, I've checked out. I'm drunk and I'm off.
You need some relief.
I need relief. And I found a different form of relief. And it was reading what I read to start this deal. And I think that's why we're growing and why people are really identifying with this. Because if that hits you in any way, it's powerful to see that in writing.
Yeah,
it really is.
All right. Well, why don't we move on to Soraya? Just get a quick update with Soraya. What's happening with you? What's going on? I know you weren't feeling well. You had some things going on, and you moved in a new apartment. How you feeling? What's happening? What do you want to work on in your life?
30 seconds, right?
No pressure.
30 seconds. Go.
So, I mean, I've been sick for like the last couple of months. I've had just various health things going on, and I've been dealing with all of that amidst my breakup, amidst trying to move, amidst, an even bigger stressful work environment. Like yesterday I had surgery and Todd's texting me like 20 times asking me for work stuff, and I had to.
I thought she was faking the surgery, by the way. Yeah. She just wanted to stay home and watch TV. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I did, but it's fine. It's fine. But I had to, set that boundary. But I'm week 3 into therapy now, and I think I'm starting to learn quite a bit about myself. And one of the things that my therapist said to me was, is it possible that you attract yourself to chaos because like that's how you spent your entire life? And I've never given it that thought, but I think about all of the men that I've casually dated up until now, and like since my breakup, and they've all been terribly messy. I'm attracted to very inappropriate people, and they've all been so chaotic. They've fallen in love with me, or they get aggressive or whatever, and I say that I don't want any part of it, but like I keep finding the same type of man every single time.
But do you set boundaries or end them when you feel like this is not going to be a healthy, workable relationship?
Yes. And so that is
progress.
Something that I've been working on. Like with the last guy that I was sort of dating, I did kind of set a boundary, but I definitely let him cross that boundary for, another month before I was like, wait a minute, this is really bad. I can't do this. And so like I'm learning to set a stricter boundary. So that's kind of where I'm at. And then the other part of it is just me learning to be by myself, because I haven't been by myself in like 6 years. And I like learning to actually be alone in my apartment has been a really, really hard transition. So like,
how so?
I just like, there was for the last 4 years, there was always someone to come home to. We weren't always on the best of terms, but he was someone that I loved, someone that I cared about, and I came home to him every day. And now I come home and my apartment is quiet. There's nothing going on. And
except for your 2 cats.
Except for my 2 cats. But, I want that affection. And
companionship. Yeah.
Companionship. And I'm finding it in, these meaningless people that I keep inviting over or hanging out with. And like, I don't even want to see most of them again. So like, why am I doing that to myself? So like, I'm
addicted to chaos, excitement.
Addicted to the chaos and excitement. And so I actually trying to take the steps to learn to be completely alone.
Charles said something this morning to our good friend in LA. He said, you can't start dating and fall in love until you fall in love with yourself and get to know yourself. And I thought that was really interesting because this guy is one of my best friends and he's never, I think, fallen in love with himself and he's always rescuing and trying to solve everyone else's problems.
If I don't love myself, how can I expect someone else to? And if I don't love myself, get in a relationship, then there's going to be two people that don't love me.
Right.
Right. So it's,
you got to
double whammy.
You got to get to know yourself, fall in love with yourself to find out what you want so you can find someone who's compatible with you. If you don't know what you want and what you stand for and your ethics and your values and your interests, how are you going to find somebody that meets those criteria?
Exactly.
Fall in love with yourself, Soraya.
I'm working on it.
I'm still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, she's working out and doing therapy and doing the work.
I can't work out for like 2 weeks. It's actually going to stress me out because I want to go back to boxing so freaking bad.
And we had
a
good one last night. Yeah.
I'm not going there ever again. You can't make me. I like my boxing gym.
Yeah. We have 2 boxing gyms and I like them both, but she will only go to one, which I think is actually probably the better one. But boxing, I can tell you yesterday, kind of a lot of crazy shit going on with my wife being incredibly hormonal and pregnant and being literally out of her mind because we're doing IVF and she's on like 12 different shots, getting her hormones all jacked up for the pregnancy and like, stress at work, stress with my kids, stress with her. And I just really needed that boxing. When I came out of that boxing gym and got in my car, I'm like, I felt the peace. I felt this like happiness. I felt like I'm listening to music and I'm like, I feel really, really good. And it was without taking a drug, without taking a drink, and, for me, it's critical to release that serotonin, to get that high, that natural high. It's critical that I work out. We'll get you there someday, Charles.
Yeah.
You ever wonder if one of those rage rooms would be beneficial? Where like you throw the plates and shit.
Like a cathartic room.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that'd be fun.
I think we should do that. We should book that.
Therapy.
Let's do that.
Well, I'm very impressed with you, Sarah. I think you're doing the work. Setting boundaries, you're finding out who you are, and it's progress, not perfection. Mm-hmm. We got to be gentle on ourselves for sure. All right, let's move around the table. Good old Blake, what is happening with you? And let's be honest.
Yeah, honest. Yeah. I think the hardest thing for me right now is being I'm my own worst critic, and the level of pressure and just overall, the pressure that I put on myself is so unrealistic and it's so unsustainable and it's so overbearing, and it's like, it's exactly what you guys are saying. So that I can get that hit of like despair and like, but no one else is doing that to me or putting that pressure on. It's just all internally. And I think it's back to being a teenager of like, I'm not good enough. No one likes me. I'll never fit in.
The critical parent.
Yeah. I'll never be anything. I'll never amount to anything. It's all that stuff that just plays over and over in my head of like, I can have one little inconvenient something and then it's like, I instantly go to like, you're a loser, you suck, you'll never amount to anything. And it's really hard to kind of, I guess the first thing is realizing that I'm doing it, but then getting on the other side of doing the affirmations and, feeling like you're worthy. And, I guess it's hard.
Yeah, the affirmations and the mantras are key. I had Alex do that 2 nights ago when she was falling apart at the seams. I said, right now, let's go. We're going on the mirror and we're going to write down 5 affirmations. And like she talked about on the podcast, she was having some body dysmorphia and body issues. And I had her write down 5 things on the mirror. And she started saying them over and over again.
Yeah.
And after like 10 minutes of saying them over and over again, she actually said, she goes, I actually feel better.
Yeah, and I think social media makes it so hard with whether it's any of these 7 deadly sins of everyone's got more money, everyone's got a hotter girlfriend, everyone's got a faster car, and it's hard to to remember that you are good enough.
What, did you get off social media?
I did. Yeah.
Oh,
And
really?
are you having withdrawals?
Yes.
So what are you doing about that? Are you sneaking some social media in, or
Yeah.
what are you doing?
I think it's more so I live vicariously through, I caught myself yesterday looking through Danielle's phone on just social media of like, and it's so hard to like unprogram doing that.
It's the hard, those habits are hard to break. But I can tell you, I've been, except for the last month, I've been off social media for a year and I feel a lot better. The last month I've been back on, really because of this podcast, which is a lame excuse because now I'm like fully like
You're fully in it.
fully
Remind
in
me
it.
to delete that off your phone.
I actually, you know how many times I've done that? It's like the nicotine. We were just
Yeah.
talking about the nicotine.
On and
Like,
off.
I've thrown away the nicotine. I've went into the garbage can and got it back. I've thrown it away, went to the CVS, got more. And same thing with social media. I've deleted it, reinstalled it, deleted it, reinstalled it 1,000 times. And, it's progress, not perfection.
Yeah,
I
and
think the awareness is the first thing,
And I think the other thing that is really hard habit that I'm trying to change is, we've talked about is porn. Like it's so just instantly, like when I'm feeling down on myself and I'm feeling bad, it's like something that I turn to. Mm-hmm. And then I guess today I had someone text me like, hey, my wife caught me, watching porn.
Right.
And he wanted me to like say that was okay. And for the first time, like normally if you would ask me something, I'm like, yeah, but tell her to fuck off, like whatever. Now it's like, well, I could kind of see how that might hurt her feelings. And it's probably not something that you should do. He's like, yeah, but if you're not doing it in excess, and it's like, yeah, well, I think,
yeah, that's
a
one of those
slippery slope.
Yeah, that is a slippery slope. And, I haven't done it for really 2022. I haven't done porn or masturbated for the whole year. And I can tell you, it makes me closer to my wife.
Yeah.
Because living in fantasy world. And then, it's funny. I quit doing it. And then I told her, let's watch porn together. Because I knew she loved watching porn before she met me. She loved it. So I'm like, let's just do it together. And then so we started doing it together, and she's like, yeah, I don't want to do it. I don't like it. And I'm like, oh, come on,
Come on.
And I'm like, anything for that hit, anything for that like high. And I think my first high in life was a naked girl in a Playboy.
Yeah. I remember getting Playboy magazines at 7 years old at the golf course. High. Dave Thomas hooking me up, like, hey kid, check this out. I'm like, oh wow, this is
the
cool.
Wendy's guy, or
oh
wow,
Mountain Shadows.
Wow, he does a great frosty and fry. Sure.
In Playboy magazine.
Good old Dave. I mean, his daughter was Wendy, right?
Yeah.
No, it was definitely my first addiction, and it's the hardest one to get rid of for sure. But it's amazing what's on the other side of that. So if getting rid of the porn, getting rid of the fantasy, getting rid of the lust, getting rid of that teenage behavior, on the other side of that is like true intimacy with your partner.
Yeah.
To the point where that is more euphoric than the hit you were getting
and it's
before.
so unbelievable. Like you get to that point where with the true intimacy, and it's like I crave that so bad once you have it, and it's just.
But if you don't know what it is, you think it's boring.
Yeah.
And you think, oh, this is boring. This is like mundane. But because you want that quick hit from the porn or from the girl or for the quick hookup,
Yeah.
But when you get rid of all that kind of behavior and those thoughts leave your mind, you actually are in deep present moment conversations with your partner and your wife.
Yeah. And it's super cool to be able to share raw emotion with your partner and feel safe. And that's something that I'm super grateful that I have now that I didn't have before, because we work to get to that place where I can feel safe and I can say, hey, I'm scared. This is making me scared. And not either of us need to fix it or anything, but just being able to share that openly and intimately.
Can you do that with your wife
for
now?
sure. Now I can.
So is there anything that you wouldn't share with her?
No.
So you could share the porn with her. You could share your social media. You can share your scared in business.
Yeah, I couldn't 6 months ago.
Okay.
Like if we had this podcast 6 months ago, I'd be like, I don't do porn. Like, what are you guys talking about?
Right.
I don't do that. Like, you guys are weird. Like,
right.
And now I can say that openly, and she'll listen to this and we'll have a laugh and it'll be all good.
Yeah. Cause I think it's important that our partner makes us feel safe. Like there's nothing that I should be able to say anything to Alex and feel safe, and she shouldn't judge me and make me feel like I'm doing something wrong. Like she should be loving and supportive. She doesn't have to condone the behavior, but she needs to make me feel safe. That's part of like what a partnership is.
Yeah. And I think the coolest thing now is being able to share those things and not worry about her reaction. Like how she reacts to me saying something or me standing up for myself is nothing to do with what I just said, as long as what I'm saying is true. And I think that's getting to that place of being able to say, hey, you said this and it hurt my feelings. And she could think it's stupid and it means nothing, but at least I said it. And if she gets mad about it, that's on her.
Right. Well, Alex blew up at me today, a couple hours ago, and screamed and yelled. And because I told her I didn't like some of the hooks she put on the outside of the house for the towels. I go, this is a mid-century modern house. We have to protect the integrity and the look of the house. And she immediately started screaming and yelling at me, which I've never heard her be this vocal and loud and angry. And I actually triggered me. It like brought back like I was 6 years old again and getting screamed and yelled at. But when she left and got in the car and took off, my heart rate didn't go up. My blood pressure didn't go up. I'm like,
amazing.
Whatever.
And you weren't calling her being like,
no,
hey,
I didn't call
I
her
looked at it again.
No.
It's fine. Everything's great. Thank you so much for putting those up.
Yeah, no, none of that. And, I remember in college, a girl broke up with me at a bar and I said, no. And I ran after her down the street at Dirtbags trying to grab her and say, no, we can't break up. Because I was starting to feel those feelings of abandonment and I started to panic. Like, no, get over here. I told you, I fell in love with like every hooker I ever met. It's like, I love you. Hold me.
I've done that with Danielle, where we get in a high-speed car chase around her neighborhood because I just want her to stop and talk to me.
Oh my God. Unbelievable. Glad we can laugh at this shit today.
It's amazing.
But so let's talk a little bit about, have you guys seen The Devil's Advocate?
I haven't.
Me either.
You guys have.
I'll watch it.
After we read these, I'm going to watch it again. It's actually one of my favorite movies to talk about.
Watch Party at Todd's house.
Watch Party at Todd's house for sure. I got popcorn. All right. So what are the 7 deadly sins? I'm going to read some of them. And I found an interpretation on the internet that I really liked. So the first one's pride. The proud diminishes others to claim his superiority, real or presumed, in any field. Strong of such awareness of superiority, he does not respect people and laws because he is convinced that he is worth more than anything else. Pride shows in different ways. It can imply submission of others, or rather that the demanding of their admiration. It comes from a desire to excel, to be recognized as the best compared to the others, thanks to the real or just demanded merits. It is considered as the most deadly sin, because the proud believes he is so much better even than God, that he acts as a judge towards others. So from pride comes vanity, delusions of grandeur, judgment, omnipotence, and the will to subdue. So for me, I get like this sometimes in business. I can get like this when I'm doing really, really well in business or sports. I'm like, I'm fucking the man. I'm better than anybody.
Yeah, it's like, I don't care.
But with this comes the other side of this, right? You think, I'm the next Pete Sampras, John McEnroe.
Yeah.
I beat Pete Sampras. He can't hold a candle to me. I beat him when I was 8 years old and he was 6, but I did beat him, right? So it's like, I get so full of shit thinking I'm better than everyone. I'm judging everybody. I'm smarter. I'm better looking. I'm blah, blah, blah.
And when you do that, you just set yourself up for the biggest fall right on your face, no matter what. Mm-hmm. And that's for me is the most painful part of it, is when you act prideful and you act better than everyone else. And then you have something that, doesn't go your way, or you don't win. Everybody comes out of the woodwork to remind you of you're not the man.
When I read this, I almost get a sense of a bit of bipolar, like manic and depressive. Yeah. Like the manic is the guy who thinks he's incredible. He's the next Messiah. He's the next Brad Pitt, blah, blah, blah. And then on the other side of that is that depressive, the guy who can't get out of bed. He's under the covers.
Yeah.
He's freaking out. Why am I still alive? Why, no one loves me. No one cares about me. And it's almost like a little bit of that manic depressive syndrome.
No one show up to my funeral.
Mm-hmm. So that's a really good one, an important one. Vanity is huge too. Envy. The envious hates his neighbor because he owns something he doesn't. Envy comes from the awareness that someone else owns qualities or goods one does not have. It implies the comparison to others and the hatred for what they have. As a result, the envious person enjoys other people's losses and disgraces, because only that would make the envious feel higher than his misery. In fact, he does not pursue to improve his conditions. He just waits for others to get worse. And from envy comes jealousy, constantly comparing with others, negative self-judgment. So what you were just talking
it's a pretty American thing.
You were just talking about
the rise and fall of our stars. People care more about the fall than the rise.
And I think in a lot of the circles we run with, and really any circle in the United States, I think, maybe less so in other countries, we gossip and we gossip. We gossip about political parties. We gossip about people's race, creed. We gossip amongst our friends. And it's all this right here. It's all envy. Why are we talking shit about someone else? Because the envious person enjoys the other people's losses and disgraces, because only that will make the envious feel higher than his misery.
Yeah.
Wow.
Instead of doing the work on our misery and why we feel bad about ourselves, let's talk shit about other people and let ourselves feel a little bit better than them. Oh, that person relapsed. Oh, that person's cheating on his wife. Oh, that person's doing that. That person's
job.
That person lost his job. That person's cheating on their taxes. On and on and on. And what's that doing? It's preventing us from putting the mirror up to ourselves and looking at ourselves, right?
And I think the envy one comes out for me, especially when someone has maybe done me wrong or done me, has done something to me. And then I wait and look forward to their, misfortunes.
Yeah. And it's a sick way to do it. And I grew up in a household where we talked a lot about our neighbors and the people in our community. And it was, God, that guy's making so much money. You know how much money that guy's making? Or that guy got cancer. That guy, that guy is on drugs. That guy's son, they had to send him away. He was misbehaving. It was always something. And it was, again, to prevent us, our family, from being intimate and from looking at our own stuff, right? So we'll do one more, and then what we can do is next week we can maybe go through the next four. Yeah. So the next one is probably the one I struggle with the most today. Lust, and this is where the devil's advocate talks a lot about lust. Al Pacino does such a good job bringing to light lust in a way that is sexy and beautiful and like, wow, I want that. And he does it in such a flesh type of tone that you don't see the spiritual disease and the emptiness inside of it. You just see the ego side of it and the flesh side of it. So lust is related to pleasure, whether sexual or not, and in itself exasperated in impulses and longings. A fruitless pleasure that does not imply love, nor desire for reproduction. It is just the urge to enjoy the act itself, with no respect nor consideration for oneself or the other person. While sex between lovers is an experience that elevates love and physical and spiritual union, lust leads to separation from each other and even from oneself in some kind of beastly blur, only to pursue physical satisfaction. How many times have we watched a movie or a porn and we're like, oh my God, look at that passion. Look at that. Oh my God, look at that love. Look at that incredible, like they're tearing each other's clothes off. And what we just read, sex between lovers is an experience that elevates love and physical union, But lust leads to separation from each other and even from oneself. I always say when I'm in lust, the other person doesn't exist. It might as well be, a doll or
I don't care that you're tired.
It's all about me, and it's all about my beastly blur. And it's not about coming into union of love and physical self for to create the intimacy and that love that we share and that trust of having a life partner. And that's why I think so many people are afraid to commit, because they want to continue to experience those lustful feelings and continue to experience that high. Like Richard always says, it's the two-legged drink. It's the two-legged drink because it is that experience of getting that high. It's not that experience of trying to create that love and intimacy and that union that we just read about. It's more like, oh, give me that high, give me that hit. And then okay, when I'm done with that, give me the next hit. Oh, then when I'm done with that, give me the next hit. And before you know it, you've dated 30 people in a year, and it's then you don't know intimacy. Then you don't know what real love is, because I'm so busy. I've watched some interviews with some porn stars over the past several years, and they all said it's so hard, if not impossible, for us to find true love, because we look at this as a drug. We're just performing, and we're just doing this to have a drug. And they all said, I've listened to 4 or 5 of them. They all said it's very hard for us to find peace and intimacy with our partner when they have their profession was pornography.
Yeah. And I think I heard something on Rogan where they talked about porn stars and how so many of them during struggle with, mental health problems. And, I think there was, I don't know the statistics, so I won't say it, about suicide among, that community being so high. And I think it's because it's so hard to find that true intimacy after you've, done it for so long.
Well, look what comes of lust. Internal emptiness.
Internal emptiness. Emptiness. Well,
how can you love or be loved if you...
But the media and TV and porn and social media makes it look like it's the opposite of emptiness, because it's passion and it's beastly love and it's ripping each other's clothes off. But here it tells us it's internal emptiness, incapability to welcome others, insatiability. I mean, it's telling us that no, that's the wrong road. That's the wrong road. Take the road of having a partner and a life partner that you can share everything in life with. And then when you come together to have a sexual experience, it's much more meaningful. And it's not about having the other person have an orgasm. It's not about impressing the other person. It's not about looking in the mirror what was that movie? American Psycho. American Psycho, where he's looking in the mirror, and flexing, looking at his abs, look at me, that's why I say the girl's not even there. He's not looking at the girl. He's looking at himself. Yeah. It's narcissistic, egomaniac type behavior, right? And, but it's so hard when you get into a routine and a ritual with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've watched porn since I was, 12, 13 years old. So it's and all of a sudden I'm okay, stop that. It takes work. It takes practice. It takes, talking about it. It takes replacing it with a new habit and ritual, prayer, meditation, helping others, talking about it with your partner.
Putting the light on it.
Putting the light on it. Yeah. It's just not going to go away by itself.
And for me, when I'm in that lust, even with my wife, it's all about me. And no matter however many times we have it and I'm not getting that spiritual union, I just want more. Right. And it's just this thing that spirals out of control. You're I want more, but we're not, being truly intimate. And then it just kind of spirals completely out of control.
And I'm always, Blake, I'm like you. I'm always looking for the loophole. Okay, I'll just be with my wife. I won't watch porn. I won't be on social media. Honey, can you go get that schoolgirl outfit? And can we play that role tonight? It's okay, I can't watch porn on social media, but I'm going to play it out in the bedroom with my wife. Right. So okay, go get your nurse outfit. Go get, and we do. We have 8 different outfits that we bought. My partner owns a costume lingerie company, and he gives me all this stuff, which I love, by the way. But it's role playing, right? It's role playing. I mean, what do you have to add to this, Soraya, on the lust side?
I'm feeling very on the spot right now.
Have you ever lusted anyone or anything, Soraya?
Yeah, that's actually something that I've been struggling with. Also in learning to be alone is trying to stay away from these lustful actions. Like, I've been on dating sites since I've been single, but like, I don't actually have the desire to commit to any of these people. So like, why do I keep doing that? And I think it is, an issue that I'm having, and it's all about me. I don't even care about any of these people. I don't care if I see them again.
You're getting like a hit. Do you feel like that high?
No,
like
they'll come over and, we'll hang out and whatever happens. And then I never talk to them again. And it's not healthy. It's not a good thing for me to be doing to myself. And it doesn't benefit me long term. But, in that moment, it feels great because I'm not alone.
So what are the physical feelings leading up to the person showing up at your place or hooking up? Like, what's the physical feeling? I mean, does your heart rate go up? Does your adrenaline go up? Do you feel like, you're getting that rush a little bit?
I feel like it kind of emulates happiness because I'm getting the attention that I so desperately crave. And that's really what it is I'm just looking for the attention. Somebody
getting it through a lustful way, but you're getting attention.
Yes, I'm getting attention. And somebody thinks I'm pretty for the evening.
And you want attention, just not in this kind of way. You want real attention.
I want something more full than what this is. Yes. Yeah. And I'm not ready for that. And I think part of me not being ready for that is an excuse to continue this behavior.
Yeah.
But I also know that I have a lot of work that I need to do on myself because I don't want to ruin any relationship that I do have in the future. Because I know where my flaws are, but also I'm not ready to give up this lustful behavior. And that's something that I've been working on with my therapist and everything else.
Yeah, it's good that you can be honest and open about it and you know what you want.
Yeah.
A lot of times we know what we want, but we're not ready to get it. You know, it's like, hey, I know this, but I got to continue to walk before I run. You know? Yeah, that's good. Yeah, well, we'll hit these up the next 4, but again, in this devil's advocate, lust is probably lust and pride are probably the two sins, 2 of the 7 deadly sins that he exonerates and exemplifies in a way that makes it sexy. Pride. He makes the vanity look sexy. He makes the lust look sexy. He has all these beautiful girls working for him. He's like, look what you can have. Al Pacino's like 70 in the movie or 60. And he's got all these beautiful young girls with him and the Lemos and the Rolls Royces and top floor in the penthouse in the St. Regis. And he's walking around. He's like, look, you can have this. You think God doesn't want you to have lust?
Right.
He's given you free will. He's like, hey, you can touch, but don't taste. You can taste, but don't take. He's like, he's laughing his ass off up there in heaven looking at you. And I'm telling you, you can have all this. You can have it all. You can have all those great feelings. But what he doesn't say in the movie is on the other side of those great feelings and those highs is really loneliness and emptiness and being alone. I have friends that are in their 50s that are continuing to still date and date and date. And we know a bunch of the same guys, Charles. Yeah. They'll never settle down. They're never going to know what true intimacy is. They're never going to know what true love is.
Guys that when we were younger were our heroes.
I wanted to emulate these guys so bad. Like, I want to be like these guys. And they got the cars and the women and the drugs and like the Vegas and the planes. I'm like, I want that. And now I've had that. And that's the last thing in the world I want.
Still alone sitting at the bar.
I want to snuggle with my wife on the couch with my dog, watching Netflix, looking at her eyes and telling her I love her and just holding her hand for 3 hours straight. And we do that all the time.
Isn't that beautiful?
That's what I want.
Yeah.
I don't want the next girl and the next girl and the next girl. I've done all that. I know what that gets me. I feel that alone, that emptiness, and I have to use drugs and alcohol just so I can get through another day.
Well, we have another podcast here at the same studio for that exact one right there.
Oh, is that right? Oh, yeah. Yeah, we could say the name.
The secrets of a sugar daddy. If you're the alternative to that and you don't want to hug and lay on the sofa, then tune into that one. But Todd, I've lusted over many things, right? It doesn't necessarily, as it says here, it doesn't have to be sexual.
Right.
There are many things I've lusted over, and it was nothing more than just the urge to enjoy the act itself. And once that's over, that excitement of lust is gone. I'm left feeling that didn't provide me the satisfaction that I thought it would, regardless of the hurt that it could potentially cause to others, which in most cases doesn't lust do that, right? Ending marriages and relationships. What's wild is these things that, of all things, right? The pleasure that was going to come of that. Once it was over, I was left feeling empty internally. And then what do? We go try it again. We try it again with something else. And it wasn't until I could feel myself more whole internally that the lust has started to subside. I'm trying to think about what I lust about today. Right. And so it's
I still lust about money. I still lust about control.
Power.
Yeah.
Lust for power.
Vanity. I think I still lust. I want to, I need to go get some Botox because I'm getting some wrinkles.
Wouldn't that be
I
pride?
need to lose some weight. Well, it's pride and I think it's lust.
Okay. So they can cross into each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you're saying it doesn't have to be, sexual, I remember being a high performing athlete and you win and you think you're going to feel this great, amazing way. And then it's you're like,
want to last for a minute. And then you
you're
feel
like
shit again. Like, what's the next turn?
Yeah. What are we doing now?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, this is really good stuff, and I encourage all you guys to watch. What's the name of the movie again?
The Devil's Advocate.
Devil's Advocate. And the other one too that we watched right after that, which has an incredible spiritual connotation, is The Matrix. On how Keanu Reeves is fighting. Should he go into the Matrix and be comfortable? And, the agents are trying to bring him back into the Matrix, or should he fight it and try to find a different way that he doesn't know what's going to look like? He doesn't know. And Morpheus and Neo are his spiritual guides to lead him to the Oracle, which he's then like, we don't know what that's going to look like, but we know it's different than your life today. It's going to be different. And it's amazing the fight, the internal battle between oneself. And a lot of people say that he was Jesus in the movie, like Jesus had this spiritual enlightenment. And I just find that movie it gives me goosebumps to even watch that movie again and to watch him struggle with that decision. And then at the end, he finally says, fuck it, I'm going all in. I'm going to try something different. And he has this incredible experience, So I encourage you to watch that movie too, with that spiritual connotation in mind of fighting what's familiar and what's programmed in your mind from a young age, which typically is not great shit, and find a different way out of the box that may be scary, might be different. Like, I don't know anything but watching porn and lusting after women. Well, I'm going to try a different way and see what happens, And by tasting that, I'm like, wow, I like more of that. I want more of that. I like feeling safe. I like feeling, affectionate. I like having compatibility. And that's different behavior. Well, I think we're running on the hour, and we'll be back next week with the laundry list. And please be nice to my friend this week and have a great week, and we'll see you next week.